all the people who inquire to the president, they are very good people. And they have lost their brain cells. Anybody who thinks and disagrees is in trouble, being abducted. You lose your job. You're being threatened. So we are saying they are reversing all the gains we had. Kibaki allowed everybody to speak their mind. Uhuru, you could speak your mind anyway, isn't it? Now, Ruto seems to be worse than Museveni, because Museveni at least allows some people to say some criticism. But for him, anybody criticizing him, he's bad. Now he told the youth, you are opposing me because you have taken drugs, isn't it? Were they taking drugs with him to know they took drugs? How can a president on top of a vehicle know people who have taken drugs?
He's a pastor. And
no, he's not a prophet.
He can foresee. No. Welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for today. Now, once again, I have Professor Fred Ogola here. We want to do what is called breaking political barriers. But before we do that, I have a question to ask Prof. Before we get into what I want us to talk about, let me ask you this. Assuming you're a doctor, because you have a lot of knowledge about doctorate and all that, you know, the health issues.
Yeah.
Assuming you're a doctor.
Yeah.
And then you met a patient who is diabetic, who has got a sugar problem.
Yeah.
What would you do?
If a medical model that we do diagnostic first, then after that we make an inference, which is to determine that actually the person has diabetes. Then you put that person on medication. Yeah. Of course, medication does not normally mean medicine. Medication can also mean change your lifestyle. People can exercise. There are so many ways. Actually, sometimes we take medicine because we are lazy or we want a quick fix. But if you really want to walk the journey of recovery, normally you don't have to take medication. And I'm not speaking on theory. In 2013, I was diagnosed with very high blood pressure. And because I was 115 kilograms, I did not take the medicine for
115 kilograms.
Yes. I started hitting the gym. I was running. I cut my diet. And I moved from 115 eventually to 73. Then now I'm 71, 70. And I've never taken medicine for pressure. And I'm here sitting with you. I don't have pressure. So I know that some people are at a condition where they can't do that. But I can tell you that the journey is to have the right treatment for that right disease. But you must get the right diagnostic to get a right prescription. The problem here is that before we properly diagnose the problem, we have a prescription. And it is terrible. It's terrible. Like I've been telling people, even in Kenya, I don't know what we are going with this discussion, but we are as rotten as the president of Kenya. So the more the president is rotten, the more the society. So when he's shouting at the people in Isiolo, Ninyi, you are using drugs, isn't it? Well, have you ever had a president who uses drugs before?
No.
Yes?
Yes, they have been.
Yes, so is in his cabinet, are there no drug peddlers in his cabinet? So instead of shouting in Seoul, you should start by firing the cabinet officials who actually allegedly deal in drugs. Because some people are being vetted, then they said, well, I've been accused of this. Why don't they do the investigation before they come back? Is it the only Kenyan who can come and see us? So according to me, we are as rotten as the president. Because the rot we are seeing, we've been led to it. And unfortunately, they are trying to distance themselves from it. So that's, I'm telling you, this time we want someone who has been very, very clearly, thoroughly checked, audited, if you like, verified, due diligence to become head of state. Because we say, as a Catholic, follow me as I follow Christ. So is the president following Christ or is following the devil? If he follows the devil, then Kenyans are following into it. So let him not complain when we beat him on following the devil, isn't it? But if he was following Christ, we could still beat him on following Christ, and therefore the country could be good. That's why we want someone to steer Kenya in the right direction, so that we compete on becoming like Christ, not competing like becoming like a demon. Yeah.
Now the good thing is that I think you understood where I was headed.
Yes. Yeah.
It's sometimes it's normally good to connect.
Yeah.
The good thing is that you've connected with what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Now I've heard you severally talking about this issue of budget.
Yeah.
The budget, economy. Of course, you are an economist.
Yeah.
You understand how things should run, how things are supposed to be, the budget. Now, the members of parliament have been talking about the budget.
Yeah.
And I heard you on TikTok explaining something about the inflation. So I would like you to explain it further.
Yeah, so I'm sure since I was born as a young boy, I used to see our MPs to be very considerate people because they used to go to Parliament after the budget has been proposed through the budget policy statement, and they used to bring down the budget because they used to believe that this overspending is bad for the economy. I used to praise them for it. But once I became an economist, I said, wait a minute. Is it always good to reduce the budget? And I realized not really. And I did research. That's why I was talking on TikTok. I did research and found, is there any positive or negative relationship between budget deficit and economic growth? And when I did research using data from 2001 to 2019, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Again, took a break, took a walk, came back and did my analysis. It was the same. Then I brought somebody, I told them, this is the formula. Can you use this formula? Then he confirmed that there is a positive relationship between budget deficit and economic growth. Then I asked myself now, so what is it that is making members of parliament lower our budget because of budget deficit? And then who is the exactly enemy of the economy? If budget deficit is not the enemy of the economy, then what is? So I found something very beautiful, and the figures are here. I look at developed nations, China, US, Japan, Korea, Singapore, and I found that the budget deficit for China is 4.8% to the GDP of China. Remember, the GDP of China is $17 trillion dollars. Our budget is around 100-something million dollars, isn't it? $billion. Those guys is trillion. Now, then I look at the budget deficit for US is 6.4% to the GDP. Our budget deficit is 3.1% to GDP, meaning that ours is half what is in the US.
In the US.
And actually, it's more than 1.25% of China.
Yeah.
So then, if our budget deficit is bad, with the big size of the economy of China and the US, they should be having a bigger problem than us if ours is only 3.1% to GDP. So then it's clear, using that data and also using comparison, that budget deficit is not bad. And I found this in business. As a business person, if you put your finger like this, isn't it? You find that the thumb is short but thicker. But this one is long but narrower. The rule of the thumb in business economics is that start a business with equity, grow business with debt. Start your business with what? Equity. Grow with debt. Don't start business with debt. Unless it is just what's called brokerage or, let's say, trading. Trading, you can do that. But normally you start your business with equity, you grow with debt. So now what we are seeing here is that you should be spending to the point of achieving a deficit to ensure the economy works. That's also written in Solomonic economics. It's there. That a country, like when we are having the stagflation, when Ruto was saying he's removing subsidies on fuel, subsidies on food, I said, give Kenyans subsidies so that they can eat as much as possible. Because when somebody goes to bed in an empty stomach, that tax is lost. But if they eat, already you are under tax. So collect little taxes, but let everybody eat. Let everybody consume products. Because once I go to bed, it is you also who have gone to bed without taxes. So don't be celebrating a hungry Kenyan sleeping hungry. Any Kenyan who did not buy bread today, didn't buy sugar today, didn't buy anything today, that money is lost.
It's lost.
But if you lower the taxes so that every Kenyan can afford bread, every Kenyan can afford sugar, every Kenyan can afford those basic commodities, then it is very clear that you are collecting taxes every day, though in small proportions, but then many people are paying taxes. But Ruto thinks that if you add taxes, increase taxes, then you collect more. It never works. So that confirms that. But now what is the enemy of the economy? According to me, the enemy of economy is inflation, exchange rate, and interest rate. And again, look at the figures. Do you know what is inflation in China?
Is it 0 point?
In China, inflation is 0.2, isn't it? In the US, inflation is 3.4.
Then ours is 5.
Ours is 5.2. I'm seeing Ruto bragging of late that he has brought down inflation, but these are the countries he should be discussing about, isn't it? Then interest rates in the US is 4.2%. In China is 2.9%. In Kenya, interest rate is an average of a whopping 18.6%. Meaning, if you want money to start a business in China, you'll pay 2.9% to start a business. So where should young people be? In China.
Yeah.
But why can't we convert Kenya to China? So when these guys are doing their budget, they are always adding interest rate to reduce what? Inflation. Isn't it? But that doesn't work because people have no income. So it has never worked. We have been reducing that. That's a lazy economy. So these guys are lazy economists. So our interest rate is 18%. China is 2.9%. US is 4.2%. The third enemy, I call it exchange rate. Exchange rate is the dollar to the yen, and the dollar to the to Kenya shillings. So if you want to buy 1 yen, which is Chinese currency, you have to pay 17.8 shillings for 1 yen. But you'll pay 129 shillings for $1. So if you brought down the currency, you can import cheaply. Let's say if the Kenyan currency was, let's say 100 shillings for $1, isn't it? It means to bring anything, raw materials from abroad to do manufacturing will be easier. But Ruto is telling us he's building a manufacturing economy, but he's made the exchange rate so high that importing anything from abroad as raw materials becomes very hard. So these guys are just lazy economists. If I was John Mbadi, I would focus on how to lower the interest rate, to lower the exchange rate, and lower inflation. And I'm not saying that I'll just say that there's a formula. And I say that the way John Mbadi has written the budget is same old. The way they have already written this one from the beginning.
There's no difference.
No difference. If you focus on education, give Kenyan free education that is working, isn't it? Secondly, give Kenyans free healthcare that is working. Then the money they usually pump in those education, they'll now pump them in consumable goods, and you can collect taxes on this other side of the equation. But it cannot be that you're being taxed when you buy bread. You're being taxed when you're earning salary. And the education you pay for yourself and school fees, education, healthcare is also on you. So if you focus on giving Kenyans this education for free, there's another way to do it. The supply side of the economy is where money comes from. So let's take, for example, you saw the other day they are saying they have imported 400 million bags of fertilizer, isn't it? Now, the labor that has been used to make that fertilizer is abroad because they are importing. Fertilizer is very easy to do, isn't it? You can bring that in Kenya. How many people will employ to make 400 million bags of fertilizer?
Let's say that if you want everybody,
yes,
just a bag for everybody.
Yeah,
the same amount. The same amount of bags.
You understand? Yeah. Raw materials, isn't it? We have pyrethrum in Kenya. Pyrethrum farming along the Rift Valley was killed. Yet Ruto says he comes from Rift Valley and he loves them. If I'm from Rift Valley, I would burn this man by fire, isn't it? Because he's a lie. You know, when I was growing up, born, it used to be lovely to travel from Kisumu, coming to the leaf, because you could see a very beautiful pyrethrum farms. They're no longer there. Rivertex was involved in that area. Rivertex was even a good team in the Premier League. It's the Kenyan Premier League. They are dead. So we are seeing textile industry dying, manufacturing industry dying. Those sectors is where we shall get this income. And when we have more people now earning money from the income, it will lower inflation. But increasing interest rate for the sake of lowering inflation doesn't work, because you're balancing an evil against evil. Exchange rate is an evil. Inflation is an evil. Interest rate is an evil. Why don't you balance evil with something, let's say, holy? That's why God had to bring the Son from heaven, who was holy, to come to teach us human how to be holy. But had God taken the son of a thief to come and die on the cross, which sacrifice could we be making? Of a thief.
Of a thief, yeah.
So we could only follow those evil means. So according to me, these people have no idea to balance the economy. And of course, another thing which is very critical here is that on the economic side, there's a way on which economy should be run as a private sector company. Do you know, in Havana Media or any other company you work, there's what they call return on investment. You cannot have an economy which has negative return on investment. Currently, Kenyan economy has negative return on investment. Do you know why? Now, maths don't lie. The last budget we had for 2024-2025 was 3.9 trillion. Mbadi proposed a budget of 4.3 trillion. That is a 400 billion increment in budget from last year to this year, isn't it? Now, if you do growth on the budget, between if you take 3.9 trillion to 4.3 trillion, at the increment of 400 billion, that's an increment of 10.25% growth in the budget, isn't it? But the economy has grown by 4.8%. So how can the national revenue grow at 4.8% while the cost of running the economy is growing at 10.25%? It simply means that there is a negative return on capital. So the money they are collecting and using to grow the economy is higher than how much the economy can produce. And that means that we are running Kenya in a net loss. So how can Mbadi say he's an economist and the team of experts, professionals whom Raila donated to William Ruto, yet they are running the economy at a loss? Understand? So Kenya is a loss-making business at the moment.
We are running at a negative.
Yeah, so actually Kenya is technically insolvent. That's why we are having, because and the problem is that money is going into corruption.
Yeah, that's right.
The pilferages have not been locked. It's being run by incompetent people. Grossly incompetent and grossly corrupt people are running our economy, and therefore there's nothing we can expect. So even talk about a team of experts, why don't you see the expertise? Expertise should be seen in output. When I saw the president shouting that he has a PhD, no one can tell him anything, I'm telling him now that the truth of the matter is that he's running the economy with a net loss. There's negative return on investment in the Kenyan economy, and those are the figures. Let him use his PhD now to convince me that someone running an economy with a net loss, net negative return on investment, should preach to us about his PhD, isn't it? Because the Bible is very clear. With your action, with my action, I'll show you my faith, isn't it? But show me your faith without your action. And with my action, I'll show you faith, isn't it? So I can tell William Ruto, with your economic growth, we can tell you how you don't have a PhD, isn't it? Isn't it? But with me demonstrating that you are not running the economy well, I can demonstrate I have a PhD. You understand? Not the PhD that is important. It is what the PhD produces.
The production of the PhD.
Yes. Even Socrates said, knowledge is virtue and virtue is knowledge. Remember this talk from Socrates. What does it mean? It means that by the fact that you know something, you should do the right thing. Like if you know the 10 Commandments, do not steal. If you steal, then we don't care about your knowledge of the 10 Commandments, isn't it? Do not fornicate. If you fornicate, then we don't want to know whether you know the 10 Commandments or not. And what will take you to heaven is not your knowledge of the 10 Commandments, is how you keep the 10 Commandments. So what will make Kenyans feel the PhD is not the paper, because paper anybody can get. But can you demonstrate your knowledge of economics by turning around the SHA, SHIF, the funding model and the rest? If you can't do it, then it's a simple waste of time. So what Kenyans are looking for is not you telling them that you have a PhD. Kenyans are looking for you to turn around the economy to prove that you know economics and that you have a PhD. So these people, I'm proposing this way. should our alternative leadership take over the running of the country, we should run Kenya like a private sector, where we will give you the Kenyan balance sheet. Tell William Ruto to present to us the balance sheet of Kenya. Balance sheet of Kenya should tell us what are the assets of Kenya. The land that Kenya owns, isn't it? The minerals, isn't it? The resources Kenyans have, they should be in the balance sheet. And the return on assets should be calculated. When money comes, the return on investment should be calculated. Any decision being made should be made from a private sector driven. And I said in this our media that when private sector thrives, isn't it? Employers thrives. The economy thrives. Kenyans pay lower taxes and Kenyans pay fewer taxes, and this inflation, interest rates and exchange rates will go down, and then we don't discuss about budget deficit. We shall be discussing more of economic development in terms of how good quality of life Kenyans are having. But these other things are just Kasongo economy, and Kasongonomics doesn't work. So Kasongonomics is growing Kenya at a negative growth. They are driving the economy with a reverse gear, isn't it? Yet when you go to a car, you see D, you see S, you see R, then you see N, isn't it? So there are some leaders in Kenya who only know where N is. They'll put Kenya at neutral, and then Kenya moves at its own pace, collapsing the cliffs, isn't it? But William Ruto has put the Kenya on R, isn't it? So we are pushing the economy, but we are pushing it to go in front, isn't it? But the guy has put reverse. Hata gari kikwama, si unaweka free kwanza, sivyo? Ukisha skuma alafu unaweka drive, sivyo? Sasa hii William Ruto imetoka free, imewekwa sasa what? R. At R, isn't it? So we are in this country with God's grace. Only God is running this country. If not God here, we could have been gone. Yeah.
Okay, so it means... So it means there is something that I'm trying to understand here, Prof. So it means that in as much as we are trying to push, in as much as we are trying to push what we want, the guy is trying to pull us.
Because he's put the economy on reverse gear. It's like, for example, sorry to use this analogy. You're a young man, soon you'll get married, isn't it? So you are trying to have a baby with a woman who is on pills. She's taken the family planning pills. Wewe unakunywa soup, unakunywa bone marrow, sivyo? You get advice from your doctor. Nothing. It ends up to nothing. So that's why we are talking about now alternative leadership. Because this leadership or bottom-up economic model cannot work. Has never worked anywhere. I published a book called Solomonic Economics. That book is working in India now, in Rwanda, isn't it? It's being used in Rwanda. It's being used in Ethiopia. While Kenyans have rejected it and taken up bottom-up economic model, published by William Ruto on slides, because there's no publisher, there's no author. It's not a research book. It's just a model being used by people for propaganda. And that model has put Kenya on R, reverse gear. Look at the gains we are reversing. Democracy is reversing. Security. Born. Sorry to tell you. Nobody can do anything when they don't feel safe. So whether we talk about the domestic investors, will you go invest big time? Now I'm seeing some people are saying they're taking their money out of the country. Some Kenyans are taking their money out of the country because they're afraid of the guy in charge of the economy. Now when I hear someone saying, I'm going to win election 2027, you even see more investors running away because they see there's no solution in sight. So when you don't feel safe, there's nothing you can do. Even to eat. Sahi kama mtu ameweka chakula kwa meza na usikie kama siren iko hapo nje, sivyo? And the building is on fire. Will you be eating your food? Do you finish fast before you run?
No.
You can't eat when there's no... So this thing whereby the president has created insecurity in the country through abductions, killing, unlawful arrest. Like you see, how can a president go to Isiolo? After that, 23 young people have been arrested. What blessing did he take there?
That is a curse.
It's a curse, isn't it? When he's in Nairobi, 30 people are arrested. 30 people are abducted. 100 people disappeared, isn't it? Now, why should you tell some parents are asking me, why should I take my child to go and study in technical university of Nairobi, Technical University of Kenya, then I hear they have been abducted. So if you give birth to a child, will you take them to a university at the risk of being abducted? Can education take place?
No.
Can healthcare take place?
No.
Which sector can you invest in without security unless you're investing on guns?
Nothing.
So the problem is that they are reversing all the gains that Kenyans had made. And now look at what's happened now in the border, the northern eastern. Kibaki went to war against Somalia so that there can be peace in the border is when we can even have tourists, because Al-Shabaab were blowing things everywhere, isn't it? Now someone says there's no vetting. Now I'm hearing you say, vetting, there has been only vetting Somalis. Everybody was vetted, my brother. Even me, I was vetted. My uncle was a chief. You had to go to my uncle and tell him, my father is Joseph Ogola, and he knew. My mother is so-and-so. I come from that village. My father was a catechist. Before, you either vetted by the provincial administration or the church. So the catechist has to know that you are baptized and you bring a baptismal card. Because some people were born without birth notice. You know, when you are born at your home, there's no birth notice. Nowadays, when you are born in hospital, there's a birth notice from the hospital. So who knows you are born is your priest who baptized you. So they bring the baptismal card to prove that you are born in a certain place, with a certain parents, and a certain date. So what we are telling Mr. President is that there is nothing wrong with Somalis being in Kenya. In fact, Somali is part of East African community, isn't it? And we are building the Eastern Community economic bloc. But we cannot build it with insecurity. The president is so much obsessed with knowledge, power, and politics that he has gone blind on what is now. So some lady saying on the media that he has to know where politics starts and ends, and where policy begins and ends. So you cannot be obsessed with becoming president through thick and thin, that you plunge the country into an economic crisis through insecurity. So the issues when I'm trying to say these guys are put a reverse gear is that all decisions are reversing our gains. And we are moving at the back. Still we are using energy like power. All these things like brilliant Kenyans who are supposed to contribute to the economy, they are being abducted. They are being threatened. When you know something, you are a threat to the country. When you are an idiot, you are loved by the country. Like if you look here, all the people who inquire to the president, they are very good people. And they have lost their brain cells. Anybody who thinks and disagrees is in trouble, being abducted. You lose your job. You're being threatened. So we are saying they are reversing all the gains we had. Kibaki allowed everybody to speak their mind. Uhuru, you could speak your mind anyway, isn't it? Now, Ruto seems to be worse than Museveni, because Museveni at least allows some people to say some criticism. But for him, anybody criticizing him, he's bad. Now he told the youth, you are opposing me because you have taken drugs, isn't it? Were they taking drugs with him to know they took drugs? How can a president on top of a vehicle know people who have taken drugs?
He's a pastor. And
no, he's not a prophet.
He can foresee.
No. That is reversing the economy. That's reversing the gains. And I think the president has lost this thing. The best thing is no. That is reversing the economy. That's reversing the gains. And I think the president has lost this thing. The best thing is stop talking, start working. Yeah.
Now, Prof, going to the next story, we have got two things that are going to happen this week. It's going to be a very tough week and a very busy week, by the way, in Kenya, especially Kenyan politics.
Yeah.
Number one, we have got the court just ruled that there's Azimio la Umoja at the majority. And then number two, we have got Raila Odinga, Saturday, that is the 15th, is going to be now elected as the chairman of African Union. I wanted to start with this issue of the parliament, and then we go back now, we finish with Raila Odinga's issue.
Yeah, so first of all, the ruling in parliament is too little too late. Because had this ruling been done in the first month, we could be talking about a different story. You see, my brother James Orengo said that the fact that the ruling has been declared that Azimio has majority in parliament, it seems Azimio won the election. But of course, they had conceded. Now they are inside government. So whether you like it or not, this has come too little too late. Secondly, immediately election results were declared that Ruto won the election. So many of Azimio party members crossed over to Kenya Kwanza. So this ruling is only on paper, but on the ground, Kenya Kwanza has majority because they elected the speaker, even if the ruling didn't take place. They didn't the ruling to do the election. So, but the fact that Kenya Kwanza elected the speaker and Moses Wetangula won by a good margin to become the speaker of the National Assembly also means that on the ground, Kenya Kwanza actually is the majority. These are just cosmetic changes, which more or less will increase the pay slip of Junet Mohammed and Milio Jambo and reduce the pay slip of Ichung'wah and the rest. But let me tell you where this is. I can tell you for sure that this ruling has been done by William Ruto. I don't mean that judiciary is not independent, but judiciary only makes ruling based on evidence presented before them. There's a time when Ruto was saying he was doing a purge in Parliament to change the settings of Parliament and give ODM more seats, give ODM more chairs of committees and the rest. You saw that? Yeah. Because there was a backlash, people from Mount Kenya said, oh, so they are just doing this, remove Gachagua. Now, Ruto must have been a smart politician who went back to and told the lawyers who are defending him to lose the case technically. No.
Or the lawyers.
Because in football, there is offensive and defensive. So they are scoring a goal is a factor of two people. One, they can be the offensive is very sharp, isn't it? And also it can be that defense is very poor.
Yeah.
So here it seems that defense team of Kenya Kwanza, because when this petition was taken in court, it was taken by Azimio lawyers who are the offensive. Defensive was Kenya Kwanza. So what Kenya Kwanza has done, they have just made their defense to be weak so that the offense can score. You understand? So Ruto has asked the defense team, actually some of them I was having coffee with them over the weekend, that let's just take it easy so that those guys can score. Because when they score, it's our favor, isn't it? So that's what has happened. This is a way Ruto wanted to arrange the government. So what I'm trying to say, the majority in Parliament is not Azimio. Majority in Parliament is William Ruto himself. Because both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza are in Ruto's stomach. Because see, Junet is in government. Yeah. And Ichung'wah is in government. So what will happen is that they are going to change notes. Ichung'wah is going to give Junet the notes he has been using, isn't it? And Junet will give Ichung'wah the notes he has been using. And because they agree on the background, they agree together. For example, when Gachagua was being impeached, Ichung'wah led the team of Kenya Kwanza in removing Gachagua. Yeah. And Junet led the Azimio team to remove Gachagua. The aim was to remove Gachagua. Who wanted to remove Gachagua was William Ruto. You understand? I even told you here on set that these guys were given money. Yeah. So to sign the censor motion, Junet was being met and was giving 350,000 shillings to each MP. The Kenya Kwanza MPs were meeting Ichung'wah. 350. You sign and you get the money. So these guys are the same script for now. But what can change this situation is it could be if Raila does not win or wins the AUC. This is a determinant. If Raila wins the AUC, it won't change much because that script has been decided, because we are going to this election in Addis Ababa with the assumption Baba is winning. If Baba wins, it won't change much. Yeah. If Baba does not win, it will change a lot. So as far as I'm concerned, these MPs left Raila alone. Some of them left him a long time ago. This ruling is too little, too late. And even if you say that we are changing from this side to that side, what my concern as people's economist is what is going to benefit Wanjiku after these cosmetic changes. And I don't see any. It's just some political stories, and also people want us to keep ourselves busy with discussing about their nonsense. But for me, I'm more concerned about how can SHA work if these guys change? Nothing. But of course, what will happen is allowances for Junet will go up. You know, those people are even insured, even the teeth is insured.
Everything.
The eye is insured, the ear is insured. So those are insurance will increase.
Yeah.
And then more of a better office sitting place, isn't it? And you know, also, I can tell you also for sure, Ruto will break away the people like Ichung'wa at this time. Because actually, Ichung'wa is Mount Kenya. So this is a final breaking up party with the ex, which is Mount Kenya.
Mount Kenya.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you can meet your ex for an evening coffee, which, you know, this is the last coffee with your ex, or you can have a date. Some people call it closure. So this is a closure meeting, because after Junet has taken over majority, you'll start realizing that Wakina Chungwa are not going to access State House. Can you imagine now Junet, the one bringing the government policy to the table? He's the one championing the Kenya Kwanza agenda. Yet he was in the other side during the election. Do you look at how funny that is?
Very funny.
And Wakina Chungwa are going to be very annoyed. So they're going to use this as an excuse to change so many committees. I was even on set with Wakina Pasaris. They are now sitting in the House Committee for housing, isn't it? Yeah. They are going to champion affordable housing, which they opposed and they took to court. They are going to champion for this bottom-up economic model, which they never even believed in. So the person who will lose in the end, now Ruto has won, but in the end, Ruto is going to lose. Because how can Manchester United use Arsenal players to win a league? It becomes so difficult. So for me, I think that Ruto is going to be a loser, because he's going into 2027 election with the people who have come to him out of convenience, but not people who loved him, who fought for him, who stood by him. Yeah.
Now, the last one, we have got two things here. First of all, before I go to that, what is the fate of Wetangula? Because Wetangula, the court said that Wetangula cannot be the party leader of Ford Kenya, and at the same time being the speaker. You can't serve two masters at the same time.
That's clear. I mean, he'll choose where the money is. So I don't think there's any problem with that. Raila Odinga is not the party leader of ODM, but who makes decisions?
He's the one.
So does Wetangula have the same weight like Raila Odinga? Yes, Wetangula has a weight. Wetangula has got a spine somehow. So he will give up ODM, but there's no big deal. Chair speaker, but you see what's happening? Who signs the bank account? That one is him. He's the signatory for the bank account for him. That's what matters. The rest of the things are neither here nor there. So I think Wetangula won't have a significant change. Yeah.
So there will be no significant change, kabisa.
Unless that Ruto again brings in the shareholder, but who will become the party leader? Who will choose the party leader for the Kenya? Still Wetangula. He can even put his wife to be in charge of Ford Kenya. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Now, the last one, we have got two things here. If he wins, what is the impact? If he loses, what is the impact?
Now, if Raila Odinga wins the AUC, I will celebrate, will thank God. It will also make the country more predictable than if he does not win. Because you see what's happening is that we had predicted that Raila, after going to AU, he will stay in Addis Ababa. He has already declared he has exited the political scene because of AUC, which is a big decision he has made. He's sitting pretty in the government because he is contesting for AUC, because it's a government position, like an ambassadorial position. So that's easy to predict, isn't it? And if he becomes AUC, Ruto is thinking that he's going to inherit Raila Odinga as a voting bloc just because of sending Baba to AU. So that's where it becomes interesting that this will not happen. The assumption that Ruto thinks that if he sends Baba to AU, he can inherit Luo Nyanza. Baba is not the only Luo. And also, Baba is not the only person who had political ambition. We are very many people who want to take over and chart the strategic direction for Luos differently from what Raila was doing. Raila has done his part. Nothing to blame him for. But we are now seeking alternative leadership for Luo Nyanza. And that alternative leadership cannot happen if Ruto comes back to become the kingpin for Luo people. Even if Ruto was anointed as a Luo elder, he cannot be a kingpin for the Luo nation. That one I can tell you for free. Because he's not a Luo.
He's not a Luo.
Yes. And how does he talk on behalf of Luos? I cannot go to Meru and claim to be a kingpin of Meru. When I want to go to Meru, I must get leaders in Meru who will work with me in Meru, who will tell the people of Meru on how much they know me and how we can work. So that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. Actually, that's what will break Ruto's heart. So the only person who will have gained if Raila wins AU is Raila Odinga. But Ruto is thinking that Raila is going to AU, he's the ultimate beneficiary.
Yeah.
And I can tell you he's not the ultimate beneficiary. Actually, he's the ultimate loser. Let me use this to give you a small story. When I was a student in Spain, there was a Kenyan woman who met with a Nigerian man. And the Nigerian man told the Kenyan lady that I have been doing wash in Nigeria and I've made tons of naira and dollars. I'm so rich, they're chasing after me, and I've come to hide in Spain for some time so that things cool down.
And then I go back.
And then I go back to pick the money, then we can chop life.
Yeah.
The Kenyan lady said, oh, wow, this man is a rich man. So the Kenyan lady welcomed him to her house to live with him. But to make him also stay with her, she also said something to the Nigerian man. That, you know what? I've been living in Spain for the last 20 years and I'm a Spanish citizen with a Spanish passport. So if we get married, you'll become Spanish by virtue of being my husband. So the Nigerian quickly organized a wedding and they did a wedding.
Yeah.
And they lived there for 6 months. After 6 months, the Kenyan lady got pregnant. So, you know, economy is not easy because that man is hoping to go back to get the money from whatever it was.
The wash money.
And this lady is also pregnant, to produce a passport later. So after 6 months, they discovered that the man actually had no money in Nigeria. So he was lying to the lady. Then also the man discovers that this lady is not a Spanish citizen. He has no passport. Actually, she is an illegal immigrant in Spain. So in the end, the lie never benefited anyone.
Yeah.
So this lie that Ruto can take the Luo Nyanza vote after sending Raila to AU can fail terribly if Raila does not win AUC, isn't it? Because it will become clear that both of them were lying to each other. Ruto can be lying to Raila that he can take Raila to AU, but Raila is lying to Ruto that I can give you the Luo voting block. Then in the end, none of them will get anything they want. But the advantage for Nyanza people is that they'll have their own freedom to chart the direction they want. So for me, the winning for Raila Odinga is so significant, not for William Ruto, but significant for the Luo nation. Because people have hated Luos years and years because of the hatred they have for Raila. But what has Luos done to people? So according to me, Raila should win AU. I don't even want to imagine a loss. But now, should Raila not get AUC, then there are going to be a lot of changes. In fact, this week is the most significant week in the history of Kenya. It looks like the day we got independence. It's like those kind of days. It looks like the 202 moments. This is a moment. People think this is not a joke. This is a moment because Raila Odinga is not just any other politician you think about. If Raila does not win AUC, do you think Raila will come back and say he has retired?
He can't.
Now, if Raila comes back and says he is now gotten the ruling right in the court, he will come lead Azimio and tell Kalonzo he wants to be the candidate. What will Kalonzo do?
Kalonzo will run. He can choose to
run where? Of course, if people are agreeing that the most important thing is to come together and remove Ruto. So the person Raila with the spine is Raila Odinga.
Yeah, they will still support him.
Yes, so that is another problem for us now, Gen Z. Will we go to that movement? So you see, there's been a lot of tectonic movements that is completely unpredictable. But if Raila goes, those will not be an issue. Because now the question is, can the Gen Z trust Kalonzo with leadership?
No.
Can they trust Matiang'i?
No.
Can they trust Eugene Wamalwa?
No.
Can they trust Maraga? No. Can they trust Okiya Mtata? So you see, that's why we are saying
they are still 50-50 on these people.
No, it's not 50-50. I can tell you for a fact. We have decided we will elect one of us, not one of them. The only thing they can do is to join us and be advisory segment of the government, but not to lead us. Yeah. See, we launched ALCA. ALCA is called Alternative Leadership Concerned Citizens Alliance. Alternative Leadership Concerned Citizens Alliance. Alternative means what? New software, new thinking. Like I told you, immediately we take over government, half of the government will be women. Because women determines a bigger chunk of the economy. Do you know that 75% of the GDP of the world goes to women? Yeah. Why am I trying to say so? Bring a lady in front of us here. They have earrings. Do you have earrings?
No.
They have made their nails. Have you made your nails?
No.
How much is doing your hair? Isn't it? They have more things they spend the economy. Like, for example, do you know taking a girl child to school is more expensive than a boy child? The shopping for a girl is more expensive than a boy.
Twice the boy.
And then women determines the kitchen, what is being bought, what is being cooked, what are the utensils. So women determine 75% of the world economy. And there is no way you can put women at the background of decision making. They must be in front of decision making. Secondly, as a governance expert, we realize that companies that had more women in the boardroom tended up to innovate in the right products than companies that had men in the boardroom. For example, if you're running a cosmetic company and there's no woman in the boardroom, what decision are you making in terms of cosmetics?
What do you know? What do you understand about cosmetics?
How much do men spend on cosmetics?
Not too much.
But how women spend in cosmetics?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you that women must get minimum 50% of government. Secondly, we'll ensure that young people, minimum is 50% of the government. Because the government needs knowledge and wisdom, isn't it? But here we have an old government which is full of wisdom but no knowledge.
No knowledge.
They have wisdom on how to manipulate, how to steal, how to do all those things and canvas, but they have no knowledge about what is needed to take us forward. So we will lead with knowledge, guided by the wisdom and experience of the older people. So we won't say we are throwing away older generation, but of course, chairs of parastatals, chairs of commissions will predominantly be older people. Of course, in the cabinet, you'll have a mix between old and young. PSS should be purely young age. Isn't it? And we're also encouraging senators, we are also encouraging MPs, we are encouraging MCAs to be more of young generation. Governor, maybe you need a mature person, but those positions like MCAs should purely be for a young person who is joining politics, who needs mentorship and growing. So I'm telling young people, this is our moment. If we do not win this, we'll never have a moment like this, because throughout the country, people love Gen Zs. And should you not use this love to advantage in 2027,
it will never come
and you stand behind an old person, if they'll never believe that you have any chance to go anywhere. So I think for me is our moment. Now, the moment for the young people is beckoning.
Talking about the moment of the young generation. Do you think people like, let's say somebody like, of course, a lot of people are saying that Kasmuel is a sellout. We've got Morara, who doesn't still have his own stand. And then also, we know very well that in Kenyan constitution, does not allow someone who is below 35 years to vie for the presidency. And also someone who has got, I think we were talking about this when we were coming on the car, that someone with the problem, physically, like, cannot be allowed to vie for the presidency. Not unless maybe this thing happens in office.
No, by the way, currently, there's no age limit.
Okay.
I was actually sending this out to some of the Gen Zs who are interested in politics. We are only talking about a Kenyan with an ID.
Presidency?
Yeah, even presidency. That age limit of 35 was removed.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does not, no one should feel bad from running for presidency. Everybody should feel welcome. In fact, don't dismiss anybody. Don't dismiss Kasmuel. Don't dismiss Morara. Don't dismiss anybody. Because I want to tell you something that I've heard people saying, let all these people who says they want to remove Ruto give us one candidate. I disagree with that notion. Everyone should just express their interest and come to the table. But Kenyans should decide, not them deciding for us. We don't want a boardroom president. We want the people's president. But even for me, if I will be presenting my candidature to this alliance. So they'll first of all vet me. After vetting me to do proper due diligence, they will also have to subject me to a primary. I'm watching for a primaries because Ruto has tested the ballot, isn't it? We cannot bring someone who has never tested the ballot against him.
That's right.
We have to come, all of us together, against one person, and then go for primaries. And from these primaries, we'll get a candidate who will now face off with William Ruto. If Kenyans go and nominate you in the ballot in a free and fair contest, you're the next president. Yeah, it's given. It's given. Because everyone will now go for the candidate they have selected. But hii mambo ya kusema ni huyo, ati we come from a boardroom and say ni huyu, hiyo hatutaki. We want everybody who wants for presidency to come out. Allow everybody. Don't discourage anybody. Even if they have physical disability, there's now they are being stopped. Let them all come together. Once they have come together and contested, the people will tell them what they want. What people need to agree on is a clear mechanism of picking that candidate. But there are some things must come first. We cannot allow a thief to come to contest with us, isn't it? No, because he can actually steal the contest. So we have said the first thing, even before we allow you to contest, you must pass integrity test. If we have not passed integrity test, then we are going back to the same problem. We cannot risk removing someone with integrity test like William Ruto and bring another person who has not been tested with integrity to take over. No. That one we have to do first. If you fail, even if you are very popular, you just go home. Because that's the constitution is also very clear on integrity. You cannot nominate somebody who lacks the requirement. Even these requirements I'm putting here has put integrity article, chapter 6 of the Constitution is very clear. If there's any doubt about it, you go to court and let the court clear you. Let EACC clear you. You cannot come and say there's no one who has taken you, just like they were vetting CSS. Someone says, oh, I know that. I know there was money which got lost, but no one has taken me to court. This time we will take you. Yeah. Anybody who is contesting, who has doubts, we shall tell them, bring all your doubts here. We go take them to the court for interpretation.
So in short, you're saying that what you're going to do is that you're not going to just point that this one is okay. All of this should come together.
Yes.
Then after coming together, now let Kenyans choose before the election.
Yes.
Now let them choose the person that they feel or they feel like can contest with them.
Yes, like in the US, those who go for the Democratic ticket and the Republican ticket go to get tested. If you're running as independent, then there is no need being an alliance. Run as independent. But if you want to run under a political formation, you must be taken through a process of picking. Had UDA gone through the process of picking the candidates of William Ruto, maybe UDA could have not picked him. Or if they picked him, they could have told him who become the running mate. So you also have to say, who do you think is likely a running mate if you take the ticket? Or the people can say, if we are going for the contest, number one will be the presidential candidate. Number two will be the running mate. Those matrices can be set up so they can be clearly tested, because we look here whereby Ruto impeached Gachagua, yet they're in that ballot together. Now then he bring Kindiki. So that's why Gachagua was saying that he is not Ruto's employee. But Kindiki is Ruto's employee because Ruto who picked him. But for him was picked by the people, which is a good justifiable reason. So we don't want to go back to what has brought us here.
Maybe as we wind up, Prof, your last statement?
My last statement is that Kenyans, those trying to say they are going to give up, don't give up. Someone has been telling me about doing a lot of civic education. There is no need. Ruto has done for us civic education. He has made Kenyans know what it means to have a bad president. So we know very well that 2027, we cannot allow ourselves to get there. At the same time, let us ensure that we register for IDs, we register as voters, because this time we want to ensure that the person leaving State House does not leave State House by virtue of stones or tear gas. They should leave State House by a virtue of a vote. And I want to assure you, if the sitting government tries to rig the 2027 election, I don't even want to talk about too much about IBCA, IBCO. If they dare try to rig this election, not to the Supreme Court, we will go for them so that no one can be telling us day and night how much Supreme Court confirmed them. So we will not go to Supreme Court just to sanitize a wrong election. We'll come after you because even the ruling in Parliament and court is very clear that there was something wrong with the elections. And this time we shall go. In fact, I want to end by saying it's a time to wake up and look at the four things. Now let's look at the IB servers. Let's just open the servers and check them out. It's a time to talk about the multi-party interference where the government interferes with destabilizing the political parties. Let us also open the server about the cost of living. Why are we having a lot of pending bills? So we should now use this moment really to clean the country. And lastly, I want to take this time to wish Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga all the best in the AUC elections. Baba, you owe it to us to win this seat because Luos have suffered a lot of voodoo that we can never be elected. Why don't you get elected now as the leader of Africa? Forget about Kenya. So that at least people can know that you are electable. And Baba, we are wishing you well. We don't want to even imagine any other thing. For us, we are just waiting for a party. I know women are meeting in Bomas as we speak to pray, but also they are celebrating even as they are praying, waiting for you to win. Actually, I've seen the women declaring that you are won by 85% of the vote. Let it be, and we put before God. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Wow. My last statement is this. As Raila Amolo Odinga is preparing to go to now officially for the elections, I would like to say this, that let us stand with one of us. He has been a very good person in the country. He's done a lot of things, brought a lot of changes in the country. So it's high time we Kenyans support him. And as much as maybe we may look at maybe his failures, every man or human being must have got failures. We must do one or two things. There are times of up and down. Of course, he has done a lot of things, maybe being accused, things that he did or did not do. But we should also learn to forgive and support one another. The last one is that if at all maybe you understand this meaning of what I'm going to say, that at one point you understood the issue of having plenty of lacking, then you know what to do when it comes to 2027. But the main thing is, let us go out there, look for IDs for those who don't have, register as voters, so that coming 2027, we do the right thing, elect the right leaders who can take us to the right direction. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Boniface.
Thank you, my brother. I hope you have your ID.
I have mine.
Next time I come to this show, before you show me your ID and voter's card, I'm not coming. Because we cannot run a country without...
I have ID. I have everything.
Okay, thank you. Then